Have you ever wondered what it's like to be worth $100 million? Well, today, folks, we dive into the life of Abraham Gray, an Atlanta entrepreneur worth over $100 million. He's been a guest on the main channel, and we get to sit down with him here, have a conversation, see into his life, and explore. Enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here in the hills in Atlanta with a very special guest. We're here with Mr. Abraham Gray, a man who has made his $100 million plus fortune, starting with baseball cards, all sorts of things, working his way up to real estate. This man is going crazy. My first question, Abraham, is there a recent purchase you've made that's been kind of wild or out of pocket?
No, I would say the most recent purchases that I made that probably will surprise you was I just told you right before we started that I bought a $50,000 dog.
An attack dog.
Attack dog, yeah. So this dog is trained for 4 years straight every single day by the trainers, and it pretty much does whatever you want it to do.
What language does it speak?
German.
Do you think that's kind of like Third Reichish to be having a dog like that in your house?
Yeah, I didn't know any German before, but now I know like 15 words or so.
What are a couple of the German words you've learned?
Well, I could tell it to do anything. So I would say Fuß, which means heel and walk with you.
Do you have to say it like an angry German?
Yeah.
Like Fuß?
Yeah. The more angry you say it, the more likely that they're going to listen.
Okay.
Fooey, like no.
I thought it was 9.
I don't know. Fooey has got to be another word for no because that's what they all say.
What happens if you do this to the dog?
Oh, they like it. They like it a lot.
No. What has that been like bringing an attack dog? Because you have a wife, you have 3 kids. Yeah. What has that been like?
So what's really cool is that it's an attack dog, and like if you were to like come to my house and I wanted to show you like what it could do, we could like go out there and it'll attack. But like it's the nicest dog to everyone that comes there. If I tell it, look, this person is a good person, and if you act like normal, like they're gonna treat you like a regular dog. You won't even know it's an attack dog.
So this dog is just trained at reading human body language.
Yeah.
And when things look threatening or physical, that's when it snaps into action.
Yeah. It's basically you would never know it's an attack dog until something like threatening happened.
Now, does it go off of its own accord? Like will it attack without you ever saying something sometimes?
Only if somebody was to like act like they're hitting you or like doing something threatening, then yeah.
So you are a jiu-jitsu practitioner. You really enjoy that. I saw a lot of the medals that you have in your house. If we start doing jiu-jitsu in your house together, will your dog attack me?
So these dogs are actually pretty smart. They could tell if you're playing or they could tell if it's serious. Like they have a way to do that. So if we were just doing jiu-jitsu, first off, they would see that you have no threat to me. But besides that, it would tell that. I'm just kidding. No, but I figured you like that. No, but no, but it would tell that we're playing basically, and it would probably be a fine.
Dogs are unbelievably perceptive, aren't they? Like it's almost like they can read. I mean, many animals are like this. It's almost like they can see an energy.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's crazy because it literally will like act super like cool to everybody, and then when I go out there and I'm like, all right, and I say the words, like they'll just go after that person and attack. And of course, I got those things you put on your arm. I saw one of your videos lately that you went to a place and you had all these dogs attack you. Was that scary or you were cool?
It puts the fear of God in you a little bit. I mean, like you realize that if this thing was serious and I didn't have a brace on, that I would be in for like my arm would be completely mangled,
completely gone. Like they won't even let go. Like they'll keep their mouth like shut and they'll just they'll completely.
I wonder that the guy that sold you the attack dog, I would really love to see his list of clients because I'm sure his client list is a very interesting group of people.
Yeah, they're all obviously they have to have some sort of amount of money, and they have to. A lot of them care about having a safe home.
Would you guess that he deals in the security sector? Like he's got politicians, he's got superstars, different people that are.
Yeah, he hasn't told me like different names. I haven't really asked, but he's like, yeah, I sell to a lot of celebrities.
Have you heard of Gavin DeBecker?
Gavin DeBecker.
He's a security specialist. He wrote a book called The Gift of Fear, but most recently he's been in the news because RFK, Robert F. Kennedy, running for president, has been denied a security detail by Joe Biden and his team. And so RFK has employed Gavin DeBecker to consult him on security, and most recently they caught somebody at a rally that was very suspicious. When you get into the high net worth category, like, is there a little level of paranoia that comes with it, or is it, hey, we live in such a nice neighborhood that we never have to think about it?
I mean, when you're at home, you don't really think about it. First off, you're in a nice neighborhood. Almost everybody here has like gates, so it'd be pretty hard. I mean, it'd be pretty hard to bust the gate open. My gates, like I have gates, and you couldn't even get in because first of all, they have a mag lock that's like thousands of pounds. You'd have to like weld it off or something. So you're pretty safe, so you don't feel anything. And then of course you have all kinds of security. Everybody here has all kinds of security. So like besides alarms, they have you name it. There's dogs. There's some people have motions, have lasers.
What's something that really rich people have as a security measure that the average person might not know about?
I would say a lot of the rich people I know have like hidden like safe rooms, like where they can go in a house and like could see everything that's going on and be in a nice room, but like nobody would ever know that they're there. They could watch you and call police or whatever.
The architect that does that type of work, that must be like, that's such an interesting job.
Yeah, you can make some really cool, like fancy places to hide that like, and you could do it in every room of the house. Like you could literally have every room of the house have a place that you could hide and you would never know. It could be in this room right now and you wouldn't know. Like it would blend in.
That's crazy. And I would guess that the clients, like similar with the attack dogs, similar with the custom security rooms, is you're dealing with a client where money isn't really the issue. It's the quality. It's the what you deliver to them.
Yeah, 100%. And I know like a lot of people that live around me that have like live-in or like people that are there like, most of the day that are like butlers or, they watch their homes for them or in charge of security, in charge of their dogs, in charge of the pool. Like most people here have elevators in their house. My neighbor has 2 elevators, like on either side of that. I don't know why you need 2. You barely need 1, but.
That is such a fat American thing to do with your money, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a status symbol. Like, why do you need a $500,000 car? Like, what does that do different than a $50,000 car?
Do you think ultra wealthy people tend to live longer than, because I could see it going 2 ways. One is they have the best access to healthcare, so they're going to extend their life as much as possible. But 2, they have unlimited access to vices, so the really nice foods and not having to walk and someone always doing stuff for them. Like they don't garden their own house and they're not doing the landscaping. What would you guess?
I would definitely say the wealthiest people definitely live a lot longer on average. Obviously, things could happen, but if you take the top 1% or top 5%, they live way longer than the average person for sure.
Do you think part of it is a sense of purpose and mission?
I think that obviously, like you said, they have better opportunities to have the best doctors, to have the best, people, personal trainers, to have the people that, do their diets that could really help them and actually, get them to live as long as they want. I think they want to live longer just because they want to see how far they can get. Like when you get to a certain point in life, like you have enough money, you never need to make more money. I don't know exactly what that amount is, but like somewhere between 10 to $25 million, probably not 10 million, but when you hit 15 to 20, 25, like once you got 25 million, like you could pretty much live off your investments forever. You never really need, you could spend $1 million a year and never run out because with 25 million, you could make way more than, millions of dollars a year. So I think that people, obviously once you get to 25 million, you want to get to 50, then you want to get to 100 million, then 250 million, half a million, $1 billion. And then I think people just want to see how far they can get. And a lot of people, once they hit like those crazy big numbers, they want to get to a point where they could really like help people. So like, as you see some of like the richest people have crazy charities and give a lot of their money away. And I think that's like kind of like the next step once you get to like crazy wealthy.
Is that something that you see in your future?
Hitting $1 billion or
really dedicating a lot of your time into charity work and giving back?
Probably like eventually down the road, but probably no time like super soon because that takes a lot of time. And right now I'm still in that, I want to like progress. But I do still do a lot of some charity. Like I don't know if you saw that Tim Ballard movie where they, where all the kids were getting kidnapped and sex slaves.
Oh, The Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom, yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen it. It's one of those that I'm almost scared to watch because some of that stuff is so rough that I don't have a stomach for seeing some of that thing.
Yeah, so I want to watch that movie, and then I actually got to hang out with Tim Ballard, the character, not the actor, but the real guy. We did an event together, and we talked, and I donated like like $35,000 to his charity that helps these kids with stuff like that. But most of the time I'm giving is usually like people that I know personally that like I know are good people and they just need help. And, you know, I don't like giving to a lot of charities because most charities, I feel like the money gets blown or doesn't really get used where it's supposed to.
Is there like a strong purpose that you feel like for instance, a big influence in your life is jujitsu? Like, do you see, hey, I want to bring jujitsu to the toughest neighborhoods in America or beyond? And like, do you see any sort of expression of charity of through something that you already enjoy in your life?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think that jujitsu is one of the. So first off, I love jujitsu. Like I do jujitsu many days a week, and that's what keeps me in shape. That's what I mean. Literally, you know, all my best friends are all in jujitsu. That's it's a great group of people. So if you don't do martial arts or something, like the environment's unbelievable. But that's not something I'm trying to like bring to everybody. Obviously, everybody I know, I'm like, oh man, you should try it, see if you like it. It's not for everybody. Like some people just don't like it, but once you try it and like it, like you could really fall in love with it and it changes your life. But some of the things that I try to bring to other people are more my knowledge on how to make money and how to have a better life, with real estate and with business. Cause that's what like I specialize in. Like I probably had over 400 or 500 businesses in my lifetime. I have over 40 businesses right now.
Let's pause for a second. Cause when some people think even running one business is so difficult, how do you have the capacity to run 40 or 50 businesses at one time?
Yeah. So it's actually really easy. And all you got to do is have really good partners and really good managers. That's it. Like you basically, I run my businesses like most people run their rental portfolio. Most people don't manage it themselves. Most people have, tons of properties and they have a property manager and they just collect a check every month. So that's kind of how I run my businesses. I have a little bit of involvement, but I'm the person that like finds the deals, negotiates the deals, buys the deals, or starts something new. And then I have another partner that kind of operates it. And then I have another partner that's more analytical, in charge of the accounting, in charge of the legal.
If I had to guess, your partner that's the operator would definitely have the most stress out of the three business partners.
For sure, the operator is always going to have the most stress. But here's the thing. Some people love operating businesses and some people don't. Now, my partner that operates a lot of my businesses he's not like in the business every day. He basically is in charge of the general manager or the regional manager and is basically just has meetings with them multiple times a week.
But because I've seen business relationships deteriorate and some things can start off really, really good. Like I just had one of my favorite contractors, things just slowly but surely, like he became more and more unreliable. It kind of lied to on many deadlines and when things were done and no shows to my tenants. And it was just like, enough's enough, man. And That was a guy that if you asked me 6 months ago, how do I feel? Hey, this guy's, kind of rock solid in the world that I'm in. And I really want to keep using him.
I think there's a difference. So this happens with contractors. It also happens with some of your really good friends or some of your really good employees even. Like what happens is you treat them well, you think you treat them well, and they're doing well. And they just know as 6 months goes by, a year goes by, and now they know you for 2 years, 5 years. Now they just think you're buddies and they could take advantage of you a little bit more because you're friends. So that could have been what happened with your contractor. But with a business partner that you're making millions, tens of millions, maybe even $100 million with over time, they're probably not going to get like that as often because there's too much on the line, right? The more you have to lose, the less likely that you're going to get screwed over. So my business partners, a lot of them weren't even millionaires when we started. Some of these people I've done business with for 20 years, 10 years, whatever. And almost all of them are millionaires. Some of them like have tens of millions of dollars. And they know that a lot of the reason why they made all this money was because we were partners. Now, I couldn't have done it without them either, right? I would have had to have found another partner. But I was the one with all the ideas. I was the one that came up with everything. But I can't run everything because then I can't have many businesses. So, but they realized that, look, no matter how bad it gets or how good it gets, like we're going to do more shit together and we still have, another couple decades probably of business to do. So it would be really stupid for them to do something to take advantage of you or act that way like a contractor. A contractor, if he fucks you and you don't realize it, or he doesn't think you're going to realize it, what's going to happen? He's going to get fired. So he's not going to have this job. He's going to get another one. He's not going to lose that much. But a partner that's making crazy amounts of money with you, if they screw you over, they know that you're done. You're not going to do shit with them anymore. And plus, I've had partners screw me over in the past, and literally, they're all broke now. And So it's like, don't screw somebody over that you have a good thing with. I don't screw my partners over. I need them. They need me. But we're also good friends. But like, I think there's a big difference when you're making a lot of money with someone and it's like, who would you rather screw with? Someone that has nothing to lose or someone that has a lot to lose? I'd rather screw with someone that has a lot to lose because the odds of them trying to get me back is not that good because they have a lot to lose if they get caught. The last person I want to screw with is someone that has nothing to lose because they're going to get me back. Like they have nothing to lose
It's kind of like fighting a skinny homeless guy with a knife. Like you think you can win the fight, but there's so much more downside to fighting that guy and getting stabbed in the neck than it is to. Is that a good analogy?
I watched the video that happened with you. That was one of your videos, right?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Damn. But that would be a cool video.
We actually might be exploring the homeless scene in Atlanta. We're also exploring the gutter punk scene, which is like voluntarily homeless punks. And wrapped into that world is, I was talking to some punks last night that there's a big push to protest against Cop City, and there's been RICO charges brought against punks.
Yeah.
What? Tell me more as an Atlanta resident. What's going on here?
So it's kind of crazy. So it's all started right after the George Floyd thing happened, right? So obviously the whole country went crazy, and it was like police brutality and all this stuff. And then you had the one side of the people that were like, oh, we want less cops in the neighborhood. We want, take away all their funding, all that, And then you had the people that are like, well, okay, well, we need police because like it's going to go crazy. So at some point, a year and a half into it, when all the people that are like, oh, we don't need police, like even the politicians here, realize, okay, that was stupid. Now there's way more crime and, we're screwed.
Yeah,
and
every single city that was attempted in has been a disaster city.
Horrible.
San Francisco, Portland, Minneapolis.
Yeah, Seattle. So the thing is all the politicians that were like, oh, let's defund the police had like paid for the best security to cover them. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Wasn't it one of the ladies that was all for defunding the police? I forget if she was in Minneapolis, but I think she just got robbed in her driveway in front of her kids. And it was like, dude.
She deserves it to some degree.
I think she's waking up to the fact that she had some naive political ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So eventually people were like, all right, we don't need to defund the police. That's insane. When we did that, when they started doing that in Atlanta, like shit got really bad. And so instead of defunding the police, they're like, you know what? Let's buy this tons of acres in this one area and build like a compound for the police to really like train and get really good, so they don't do stupid shit. So they know exactly what to do in each thing. It's to help them.
So the people that are advocates for this idea think it's going to be a place that they almost like a jiu-jitsu gym. You can only become a black belt if you have a gym to train at. So we're giving them a gym to train at. The punks are saying you're going to militarize the police and basically train them in urban warfare.
Yeah.
Which we've seen enough movies to know that when the police can get really militarized, it can be bad too.
Of course.
Everything's a yin and yang, but
the other thing they didn't like was that they were like spending crazy amounts of tax dollars on it. So instead of like defunding the police, they were almost like reversing it, Obviously, it's the same people that wanted to defund it, though, are the ones that came up with this. It's like they realized defunding it didn't work. So they're like, well, maybe we should just train them really good so they know what the hell they're doing. Like, they just switched.
So is Atlanta going to be a national headquarters for police training where police from Louisiana and Illinois come to train, or is this just for the Atlanta Police Department?
It's just for the Atlanta police, but I wouldn't be surprised because this is going to be like a crazy compound where like you could have the best training.
Is this 100% going through?
I mean, I think it's pretty much going through. And it's not just police. It's for like, fire department. It's for like training for like, anyone that's important to be able to save your life.
The other thing that they've looped into that is that because this is happening in predominantly black neighborhoods and they're taking out 90 acres of forest, that it's environmental racism.
Yeah, they say that. They say it's degentrifying the neighborhoods. They're saying all kinds of stuff. They're saying they're devaluing the land, but really it's making all these properties worth more. And it's anyone that owns the property there, now they're wealthier. Like literally people...
because there's just less housing?
There's less housing, but also the neighborhoods are more desirable because they're safer. And, when they're building these compounds, they're making them very nice. So like, it's just making the neighborhood look good. So like, the houses are doubling in price all around it. Really?
So is it pretty much just the only person that this would be a bad idea for, arguably, is the criminals?
I think so. I mean, the biggest fights are, again, people that just don't like the police and people that are thinking that, they're wasting taxpayer dollars. But I don't see the logic on that side. You know, maybe if I sat down and talked to one of these people, like maybe they could explain it a little bit more. But nothing that I've seen on TV or seen that I've read really make a whole lot of sense, their argument.
Speaking of police, I remember you telling me that in your high school, I believe you were voted as most likely to go to jail. Mm-hmm. Was that in your high school yearbook?
So it was either most likely to go to jail or most likely to be like ultra rich. It was one of the two. I was going to go for sure one way or the other.
Tell us why going to jail was the case for you as a high school person.
So I was one of the biggest troublemakers in class. I would get like suspended all the time.
What kind of things were you getting suspended for?
Mainly, so when I was younger, I used to get in some fights, but like that was more elementary school, maybe middle school. But I kind of quit that. Like,
you were fighting kids in elementary school.
Yeah,
were you a straight up thug, or what was going on with you?
I was kicking their ass. I was a bully. But I kind of stopped doing that like toward middle school. Like middle school, I didn't really do that anymore.
Were you an angry child?
I was very angry. I was a miserable, angry child. Yeah.
What made you an angry child?
I just, I came from a broken family. I was never lived with my parents, together. I lived with one or the other, and they were never there. And I just saw a lot of my friends with their parents, and I didn't.
Both your parents worked, or they just ignored you, or what happened?
So, well, my parents got divorced before I was 2, and I never really saw my dad because we moved to another state, and I would see him on the summer sometimes. But
did he make much of an effort to see you? Do you feel like?
Not super effort, but he'd call here and there, and like I said, we'd see in the summer. We live like totally different areas.
That's just shitty. Like I can't imagine having a kid and not being interested in their life.
So my parents had me when they were like 20 or 21, and I could see, I didn't have my first kids till I was in my mid 30s.
Really? Mm-hmm. Your first kiss?
My kids.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Keep going. I was like, whoa, that's interesting.
No, my first kids. Yeah.
Okay.
I had plenty of kisses back in the early days. No, but
late 20s, you had your first kiss, though.
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole movie, like the American Virgin. Wasn't he like 40 before?
Yeah. That's what you were going for? That was your role model as a kid?
No, that movie came out way when I was too old anyway. But no, but serious. So I saw like a lot of my friends had their parents, and I didn't get everything I wanted. Like, my parents, they weren't really wealthy or anything. They were kind of like probably below middle class.
What did your folks do for a living?
So my mom, who I was living with, was like a like a kindergarten teacher. That's what she was. So she made kindergarten teacher money.
And where were you guys at this time?
I was in New York.
Okay. So imagine 1 or 2 bedroom apartment.
1 bedroom. So I had a 1 bedroom apartment, and my mom gave me the bedroom. My mom slept in the living room.
On the couch or futon, or
she actually put like a bed in so we had like a couch, and then we had like a bed. So she slept in the bed in a corner, and then the couch was in the other corner.
Were you an only child?
Yeah, I was the only child. My mom never had any other kids. I was my mom's only kid.
So I'm guessing that you'd go to school and then you'd come home probably alone, and your mom was busy working a lot of the time.
Yeah, she wasn't ever there. I mean, and my mom had like problems. Like my mom actually, she meant well, but she was bipolar. Wow. So like she was kind of like weird like that. And back, I was born in 75. So this is like the late 70s, early 80s. I don't even think they had medication. I don't even think they knew what that was.
It was kind of like, oh, she's feeling funky, but they didn't have like medical.
Yeah.
How would it manifest? Because I know I had a cousin who had bipolar, and when he was the sweetest, funnest. Like he would take us on adventures, or we'd go over to his house, and the bedroom door would be closed, and be like, "Oh, Joe's not feeling well today," and it was just confusing as a kid because we didn't know what was going on. Yeah. What was it like? Like, how did you see bipolar in your mother?
It's like a light switch. I mean, I could tell that like she cared a lot and she wanted to do the best, but I guess it's a disease or something, so you can't really help it. But it was just weird. But like literally most of the time, like I had to like come home from school by myself. I didn't see her that much, and all these other things. So she wasn't like around as much, and she had like another job after school. She went and like I think she did like hair for people, like at one of those places that does hair. So I think she worked all the time. She needed to make the money. Like I don't know exactly at the time like what child support was or anything like that. I never even asked her or cared, but it's expensive probably to live in New York. I don't know.
So do you feel like you were a lone wolf as a child?
Yeah, I was a very lone wolf. So that probably like got me to where I was throughout school and even afterwards. And I never really had any other. Okay, so my dad got remarried and then actually had 4 other kids. but the oldest kid that he had is 11 years younger than me. And I never really knew any of them. So I never lived with them or anything like that. So like as far as I knew, I didn't really have brothers and sisters. And it wasn't until like way later on in life that like I started to get close with the oldest one, but really never kind of knew the others that much. I would see them here and there just because I would go to my dad's once a year or something like that. But yeah, I never really felt like I had brothers or sisters.
So, because I would guess, I mean, it's just with what your life has become and what you've done and all the accolades and money that you've made, that you're an ambitious person. Do you think that came from wanting to prove people wrong or wanting love or attention? Like, how do you feel like that manifested?
Yeah, obviously early on, I didn't even know why I was doing it. But once I started like making a little bit of money, because like I started selling candy in school and I was like, all right, I got a little bit of money.
So you were a natural entrepreneur.
Yeah. I was for sure a natural entrepreneur. Like I literally, anything I can get, I would sell. Like I would take, whatever I could out of my mom's house or my dad's house when I lived with them later on, or just buy, whatever candy I could buy and try to double or triple my money on it. And every time I made more money, I was able to buy more stuff. And then, as you're a little kid, people tell you what to do all the time, your parents especially, right? And your teachers. And then I saw like as I grew older and I started having some money and I was starting to make money, I was like, well, people can't tell me what to do as much because now I could, have some power. Money was power because, you could do what you want when you had it. So I kind of got to a point where I'm like, well, fuck, I want to make as much as possible because this is pretty cool. And that's kind of like how I really got driven. I was like, I don't want people to control me. I don't want people to tell me what to do. I hate that.
So money is power. How do you feel like you've used your money in a powerful way?
Yeah. So I feel like throughout like my 20s and 30s, I've gotten connected with a lot of people that, were in a similar situation I was in and they needed help to better their lives. And I was able to take people under my wing and partner with people, have people work with me, work for me and showed them like different things and things that, that made me really successful, that made them really successful. And now they're helping other people and they're helping other people. And I could see like, it's really cool. So, obviously in the beginning when you don't have much money, you want to make as much money as possible. But once you get to a certain amount, what becomes really cool is to be able to help people and see, how successful they've gotten in their life because you're like, wow, like they got there because like I was able to show them this and show them that. And that's kind of cool. Like when you get to a point where you're able to help people and you see how successful they are and how appreciative they are and how they become really good people, that's like super cool. That's why parents like watching their kids. That's why teachers like seeing their students. That's why coaches like seeing their players go from college to NFL to be, MVP. That's cool.
Tell me about the progression of making money. So you started off with candy, and where were your major business ventures on your journey?
I mean, I made, for a young kid that was 10, 12, 13, 14, decent money selling candy, although still bullshit money. But for me, it was good at the time. And then when I started making a lot of money was in sports cards. So the only thing that really got me by, like when I was really young, was sports. I love sports. I didn't have like any like role models besides like sports players. And I started collecting sports cards because I just love sports. And I turned that into a business. So it was really cool from just being like addicted. Like every single time I had extra money, I'd actually buy cards. And luckily enough, this is back in 1984, 1985, 1986. Some of the cards that I would buy were turned out to be really expensive. I just happened to get lucky that some of the cards. So I went from New York to Miami when I was 9 years old. And that is when in Miami, they didn't have a basketball team. They didn't have a baseball team. They only had football. It was Miami Dolphins. That was it. There was no such thing as the Heat. There was no such thing as the Marlins. They didn't exist. So they didn't even sell baseball cards or or basketball cards in Florida. Like they only sold football. So I basically bought like crazy amounts of football cards. And 84 was Marino rookie, John Elway rookie. Like these cards got really expensive. They were worth nothing at the time. But 5-10 years later, they $100 cards that you could buy for pennies. And then 85, there wasn't anyone great, but 86 was a big year. That's probably the year I collected more football cards than any other year. I literally had probably 20 complete sets, which is crazy because I would just buy boxes and boxes. I just got addicted to it. And 86 was a really cool year because that was the year Jerry Rice rookie. And so I had like dozens of Jerry Rice rookies, and they were literally like I could buy them off my friends for $1. So once I started getting into cards, they took off, and they were worth $100 each. And I was like, holy crap. So I just started selling cards, and I started selling a lot of the stuff that I had that I was able to make money on. And then I was like, you know what? I could start buying from people, selling from people. And I saw like there was a lot of money in it.
This was pre-internet.
So there was internet, but I actually sold a lot online. This is back when I was 15. So this is probably about 1989, 1990. There was online. The big thing back then was Prodigy. It was like before AOL, and Prodigy actually had these forums where you could buy and sell all kinds of stuff, and
Kind of a primitive Craigslist.
very primitive Craigslist, right? So I would say that a small percent of the business in the beginning was online because it wasn't, you had to like dial in. It took like 20 minutes to get online and all that stuff, but it was there. And yeah, I used to go to shows, and I used to go and buy collections from people, sell them, and I was really, really good. I could look at a box of like 1,000 cards and in 5 minutes price it, like, and know what I want to pay for it. And I was just way faster than anybody else, and that gave me a big advantage to be able to like, get the better end of every deal, because no one could buy something from me too low, and I could always buy something from them too low because I could just make them offers. And I made the number sound really good. It was a big number, but I knew it was like 20% or 30% of what it's worth, and I was able to buy a lot of stuff like that. And then I pieced it all out and sold it. And then the internet was popular back in the early 90s, and what I did was I was lucky. I was one of the first people that did really good on the internet. And back then, like Kirby Puckett's in Minnesota were really hot, and Mike Piazza in Los Angeles was really hot, and Ken Griffey Jr. in Seattle, and Frank Thomas in Chicago. So what I would do is I would go buy like all the local stars in Atlanta where I was for less than half of what they were worth, and I would ship them to all these other cities, and they would send me like Dave Justice and Tom Glavine and Greg Maddux and all the good baseball players, Deion Sanders, and Deion Sanders is pretty hot right now. But,
yeah, we'll get to your connection to Deion Sanders in just a little bit.
But yeah, so I used to get all the and the Braves would go for premiums. Like every single Brave player I got would go for full value or over full value. People like love the Braves, especially back in the early 90s. They sucked forever, and then all of a sudden they became hot.
Who were some of the studs on the Braves at that time?
Dave Justice, Ron Gant, Maddux, Avery, Glavine, Sid Bream. Like there were so many. Then Javi Lopez came, and eventually Andrew Jones. But yeah, it was a hell of.
So you were just, as a young man, just constantly wheeling and dealing sports cards.
Yeah, I would just wheel and deal sports cards. And I used
Did you go to college, or did you just say, I'm going to deal stuff?
So back then, everyone's like, oh, you need to go to college, right? Everyone thought you should go to college. So I actually graduated high school, and I barely got by. Like I graduated, D's and C's if I was lucky. But
did you just not apply yourself, or you're not there? What were the C's and D's about?
I skipped as many classes. I went to as minimal classes as I could just to get by. And
what would you do when you weren't at class?
So I wasn't like at a high school that, so I moved a lot. I lived at a lot of different foster families. I lived at boarding schools.
You lived at boarding schools?
Yeah, I lived in some like rough ones. So
not like British ones where they would cane you for doing shit.
No, but I mean, I if I misbehaved, I was locked up. I was tackled. It was.
What?
Yeah. I went to like, so there are schools that you can go to that are just for kids that get in trouble. I would say most.
So you were one of the bad kids that got put in like the equivalent of a military boarding school type thing.
Yeah, for sure. But it was only for kids that misbehaved or couldn't stay in school because they were bad, or probably I would say most of the kids were into drugs. Now I never did drugs in my life somehow. I don't know, but I always liked being in control of myself. And I saw anyone that did drugs like kind of like weren't in control of themselves. So it always scared me. So I never did drugs. I never done a drug.
So your mom could not handle you?
No, nobody can handle me.
That sounds like a WWE line. Like, but okay. So you're going to boarding schools, and then what happened when you graduated and you were of age to go to college?
So at this point, I moved to Atlanta when I was 15. That was like, I moved to my grandmother's house. This is like after many.
Why does every bad kid move in with their grandma, dude?
Nobody else could take them. And you got to be nice to your grandmother. She's older, so, but it worked out. And I stayed with her. And after school, I was like, I guess I should go to some sort of college. I went to like a community college, and I went there just to go to like business classes. Cause I knew like I was going to be in business my whole life. And literally listening to the teachers teach business, it made no sense to me. Like everything that they were saying, like I could come up with smarter things. And I remember asking one of my teachers, I was like, what businesses did you do really well at? And they're like, I never had a business, but you're fucking teaching business. Like,
Isn't that crazy about a lot of college professors is that, what is the stereotype? That a good chunk of them are failed entrepreneurs?
oh, all of them. If they were good, if they made any money, they wouldn't be teaching.
I guess the one thing you can say, because I remember having a wrestling coach who himself as a high school wrestler was a 500 wrestler, 19 and 19 every, barely, just scraping by. But he was a fantastic coach.
Yeah.
So I think you don't always need to be the Olympic champion to be the one that coaches, but usually we want that, or we look for that.
I think in sports it's a little different. I think in sports you could have, coaches that weren't necessarily the best players that can coach because they understand the game. I think if you teach business and you've never done business, it's kind of, you could get lucky and be good, but I don't think most people are going to be that good.
So had you gotten into selling Beanie Babies at this time yet?
Now, so the way I got into Beanie Babies was I was really just into sports cards. And 1997 happened. I was like 21, 22 years old. And literally,
How much do you think you were worth at this point?
So I saved $1 million in my bank account by the time I was 19. So I had $1 million when I was 19. And then I probably was making, $500,000 a year added to my thing. So maybe I was worth $2 or $3 million or something, $2 or $3 million by that point.
And did you only invest back into sports cards and
Yeah.
Beanie Babies, or did you think, hey, I'm going to get into the real estate, or I'm going to get into mutual funds, or?
So I put all my money back into business. That's why I was able to grow it so fast. However, back in 1998 is when I started getting into real estate. So that was like a year after Beanie Babies. So I was in Beanie Babies. I started making like millions a year in Beanie Babies. So my net worth started going up a lot.
For people that weren't alive during this time, there was an absolute frenzy in the early 90s with
Crazy.
Beanie Babies.
No, late 90s.
Late 90s.
97 is when it really started.
What was it like?
It was insane. So at these baseball card shows, these like middle-aged women would come and set up with all these stuffed animals at a baseball card show. And I was like, why in the world are you at baseball? And no one ever came to baseball card shows, anything but baseball cards, football cards. It didn't make any sense. Maybe sometimes at Christmas time they would have, video games or, different like Power Rangers or things that were hot for that year for Christmas, but never like just in the middle of the year. It just wasn't Christmas time. So I'd kind of make fun of them. And I'd be like, what are you, idiot? And then all of a sudden, like over the next few weeks or next month, I was like, these people had way more people at their booths buying these stuffed animals at a baseball card show, which made no sense, than me selling baseball cards. So naturally, I started going to hang out with a couple of these people. I'm like, where do you get this stuff? Why are people paying that much? How much is it? And I started learning about Beanie Babies, how they got it. And before you knew it, I was better than all of them. And I was able to buy like 10 times, 100 times more Beanie Babies than they were able to. And I knew how to maximize.
What were you buying, truckloads of Beanie Babies?
In the beginning, it was hard, but eventually, yes. So keep in mind, Beanie Babies was like impossible to buy. Like the second they hit the shelves, they were all gone at full retail or over retail.
So why would they go to a wholesaler if they could retail it at full price?
Why would who go to a wholesaler?
So how are you getting truckloads, or how are you getting these deals on them if they could just retail them at full price?
You couldn't get them from under whole price. So what I did was I did the opposite of what you're saying. So the only way to get Beanie Babies was to go to stores that sold them, which were like gift stores, flower shops, like mom and pop small stores were the only ones that Ty Warner would sell Beanie Babies to. So I found out that these people were going to like different Hallmarks, Social Expressions, flower stores, these little mom and pop stores, and they were buying them and then buying them for $5, $6, and then selling them at these shows for 10, 15, $20, And
so similar to where the sneaker flippers of today are doing.
exactly the same.
Okay.
And so I was like, holy shit. So I went and I started buying some, and I took them to the show. I was selling baseball cards and Beanie Babies, and I was doing way more with Beanie Babies. After a while, I kind of got out of baseball cards and just did Beanie Babies. But
how on were you as far as like, did you know when the delivery truck would go to each store? Like, were you like the first one in the store?
So I had someone that I paid every day. They had a list of like 100 stores. They would call every single day to every store and be like, did your shipment come in? Did your shipment come in? And then I would go there. So now these stores would have a limit. Like,
who was that person?
this guy named Scott Friedman.
Oh, I thought that was your wife.
No.
Didn't
met
your
her.
wife work for you?
Yeah, but I didn't know her yet.
Okay, well, we'll enter her into the story when she comes.
Yeah, so this guy would call every single store every single day. He literally memorized their phone numbers.
Did they hate this guy?
Maybe.
Or were they glad because, hey, it's going to fly off the shelves?
I'm sure some people hated him, some people liked him. So, but every store had a limit. Like you could only buy 3 or 1 or 5, whatever it was. Every store had a limit.
Kind of like toilet paper during COVID.
Exactly like toilet paper during COVID. So people were only able to get a certain amount. And so what I did was I started like recruiting all my friends, and I would pay like 20 people to come with me. So every single one was able to get 3 or 5. So I was able to buy everything that they had, and I would pay my friends, whatever, to come.
did they ever know how much you were making and realize like, wait, I'm getting $8 an hour and this guy's
Yeah.
balling?
But they wouldn't know which stores to go to or what the best ones were to get. I mean, here's the thing: if everyone is as smart as the richest people, then everyone would be the same.
Do you think intelligence is the biggest factor that separates rich from poor?
100%. Intelligence, common sense, creativity.
So do you think that's your,
Yeah.
competitive advantage is your intelligence?
I'm street smart. I'm not smart. I'm book smart idiot, but I'm like literally I'm stupid as fuck. If I won the Jeopardy, you'd laugh at me. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably be negative. But like street smart, I'm pretty good. Like I could go and get anyone to like me. I could kind of get my way just about it with anybody.
It sounds borderline Machiavellian or manipulation.
Yeah, but in a good way. I use it in a good way. I don't use it in a bad way. But yeah,
So I guess charm is manipulation in a good form.
100%.
Okay, because I guess every aspect is a yin and yang. Do you think you would do well in prison?
Oh, I think I could anywhere I'm around people, I think I'll do good. Now, obviously, if people are mental and not normal people, it might be hard because it might, I have to figure out.
But you picture yourself like running the commissary and being like the wheeler and dealer in prison?
I could be for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm really good at talking with people. I could get people to like me. Like I know how to get anyone to like me. I know how to build rapport. That's why I do so good in business. Why I do so good in real estate. Like I get people to like me. They sell me stuff. Like literally, I have people that have sold me the properties for $150,000 that they got offered $165, but they're like, I just like you better.
And you're easier to work with. It. Your money's guaranteed. Your word is
Everything.
solid.
Yeah, that's super important. Yeah, your reputation is so important. Like I would do anything to keep my reputation.
Do you know really wealthy people with shitty reputations?
I mean, there's always some, but they're either like super crazy celebrities that like, they're always going to be hot as hell. So like, they could get away with it, but, people don't like them as much. I mean, I'd rather be liked and in the long term, it'll usually get you further. But
I want to go on this point because there's a show about pain pills in the Sackler family, the Purdue Pharma, about oxycodone, and there's a lot of the story is on Mr. Sackler, and his mentality is like win at all costs, and like he knows his pills are having a negative effect, but making the money, the quarterly returns, winning at all costs is his main motivation, and I think that's the Hollywood image a lot of people have of rich people. Is that all they care about is the bottom line and winning, and everything else is, hey, not my problem.
I would say that person, I could see where they're coming from. I would probably be very similar to them because if what they're doing is legal and if they're making a lot of money and they don't do it, 100% someone else is going to do it. It's not like someone else isn't going to do it. Now, if you're talking about like drugs that's illegal and you're making a lot of money, then that's different. But if it's something that's legal, it's like if you're not going to do it, someone else is going to do it. Why not just make the money on it?
I think when, like, especially the eat the rich people in this country, like they view it as, yes, it is legal, but these rich people are doing things because they have the lawyers to navigate the labyrinth, and they're doing these white collar sketchy crimes that.
But you know what? Every single person that says that's sketchy and I don't like that, if they had the opportunity to do it, they would do it too. They would. If they were in that position, they wouldn't change. It'd be almost stupid not to do it, really.
So you think it's kind of like the apple in the Garden of Eden? If we were there in that moment, we would have bit the apple too?
For sure.
So would you say the average rich person would you classify them?
I don't know anything about the Bible, but it sounds like something. Yeah, I would say yes to that.
Are you religious at all? Are you an atheist?
I don't know that I'm an atheist, but I don't really believe in God, but I don't like also believe that there's no God. I'm kind of like, prove it. And then, no one could prove it either way. So I'm kind of like, just don't really talk either way about it. But I would say I'm more atheist than non-atheist, but I wouldn't say I'm atheist.
So what is the meaning of life? And I guess the second part of that is like what is enough when you're climbing the circles of wealth?
It's never enough. It's never enough. And the reason why is because you've got to feel good about yourself. You've got to progress yourself. Like if you don't progress yourself, you feel like shit and you start losing self-confidence. And no matter how good you are, you just got to make sure that you're progressing, whether it's making more money, whether it's helping more people, whether it's whatever it is. But if you just like quit and like you feel like your life, you're not progressing anymore, like how good would you feel about yourself?
So you're worth $100 million. You could easily be worth 200 or 300 in the years to come.
Mm-hmm.
What is all this crazy journey that we call life, where it's kind of absurd if you really think about what this is that we're here doing and the chances that it took for us to even get here and be in this moment? Like, what is this all for?
You're talking about like being alive?
Yeah. Why are we here? What's the meaning?
That's one of those things that like I could go a whole bunch of different ways with it. It's really hard to know. And because I'm not like religious at all, I think differently than people that are religious. But I think people are here just to be good people and to make, have a good life and to treat other people good and just to help other people progress and help yourself progress. I think that's what it is. I think, that's what animals do. That's what people do. That's what plants do. I mean, you want to progress, you want to get bigger, you want to get stronger.
Yeah, I think you're onto something with progress, because you always want to. When you're going down, you feel really shitty about yourself. But I guess so. Do you think you're gonna be 90 years old doing wholesale deals, real estate deals, wheeling and dealing, whatever the latest, the Beanie Baby of that era is? You're just gonna be.
I think at 90, I don't think I'd feel really good. I don't see many 90 people that have a lot of energy and can do it. So I probably at that point would be burnt out. But I would say I'm 48 right now. I would say until I'm maybe 70. I feel like, I think once I get into my 70s.
You want to slow down a little bit?
I think I just wouldn't enjoy it as much, or just kind of be a little bit more tired, want to go slower. Yeah, because I'm like fast. Like everything I do is fast.
How many hours do you think you work a week?
So it depends what you consider work. I literally don't work as much as most people would think. I'm in the office 8 hours a day, 5 days a week or something. But a lot of is it work? I mean, I don't know. A lot of it's like I'm doing research. A lot of it I'm just talking with people. Like half my day is just talking with people. Like literally talking with people that I want to have a relationship with, whether it's somebody I want to buy property from, sell property to, buy a business with, help teach something to, just building connections. So, I mean, it's work in the sense that I'm building these connections that I'll make money off of potentially on a lot of these people, but it's kind of like fun. I like talking to people. As far as on the computer, typing emails, like negotiating, signing contracts, doing stuff like that. I mean, it's a very small part of my week. So depends what you consider work, but like in the office, I would say I'm working 40 hours.
Let's compare and contrast our real estate styles and what our buy zones are, okay?
For sure.
So when you're looking for a piece of real estate, are you trying to flip it? Are you trying to buy and hold? And then there's a certain, hey, I'm trying to get X of a cap rate. I'm trying to get this much in cash flow. Like, what makes you buy a property?
So the market's gone crazy over the last 4 or 5 years. Like prices have over doubled.
Way overinflated, it feels like.
Way over. Unless inflation's just gone up a lot too. So, I mean, it's possible. But over the last 5 years, 100%, the only thing that I really want to buy properties for is to fix and flip. And this is like when I pay cash for something, because I don't ever get loans on anything. I pay cash for everything. And I don't want to tie up money. And the properties just every single year, they seem like they're so high, even though they keep going higher. I don't want to have my property tied up at a really high price to rent out. So everything I pay cash for, I want to fix and flip. Now,
what kind of neighborhoods are you going in?
I'm going into let's say one is like the nicest freaking neighborhoods, and 10 are like the hoods, like you'd be scared to walk around at night. And 5 is like an average. I would say most of mine are somewhere between like a 3, so they're like a couple notches. I mean, like an 8, a couple notches better than like a hood, really hood area. But I would go all the way to like 7, 8. It's kind of
so B to C class neighborhoods that are maybe on their way up. You put some money into them, make them nice, because then there's room for the margin.
Yeah. I mean, I once in a while get an A type, but there's like millions of dollars here. And, you can only do like one a year if you're lucky. And I'm buying, for like a few years, I was buying 300 homes a year. So if I could buy 1 or 2, I'd lucky. So 1 or 2 out of 300, I don't even count like I'm really buying.
And when you're flipping these houses, is there an average flip profit that you're looking for, whether it's a cash amount, a percentage?
Yeah. I would say that it's always at least 10 to 15% of what the sales price is what I'm looking to make. And then of course a minimum of like, $20,000 if it's a really cheap house. But it also depends on how big the rehab is. If it's a really small rehab, I'll make a lot less. If it's a big rehab, then I want to make a lot more.
How many teams of contractors do you have going?
I over a dozen at all times because I literally have 30 plus homes, 40. I probably have 50 homes right now that I'm working on. To some degree, at some level. Like maybe not all 50. I'm trying to take all the way, but I would say I have at least 15 or 20 that I'm taking all the way, and then I have, the others that I'm doing like 5,000, 3,000, 10,000, just to get them good enough to sell to somebody else that wants to finish it. Because there's certain areas I don't like to go all the way. It's either too far or it's just not the areas I like. But so that's how I buy most of my homes cash. But I buy a ton of creative deals. Creative deals meaning like owner finance.
The sub 2 world, they say.
Sub 2 world.
For people that aren't familiar, break that down a little bit.
So sub 2 stands for subject to. So when you buy a home from someone and they have a mortgage on it, and instead of, typically when you buy their home, you pay the mortgage off with your own money, and then now you own the home, you just keep their mortgage in place. And instead of assuming it where it goes into your name and your credit, you just keep it, you keep the mortgage in their name, but you should make the payments for them every single month.
So basically the person becomes the bank.
Well, actually the bank stays the bank, but now you're paying it instead of them in a subject to. In an owner finance, they become the bank. And then, of course, there's what you're talking about, where you're taking their mortgage over and just making the payments. They still keep it in their name and it's still with their old bank, but maybe they have $100,000 equity in it. So if they have $100,000 equity and you don't want to pay them all their equity, now you could owner finance part of their equity. Let's say you owner finance 75,000 of it. So now that person becomes the bank, and they also have a bank. So now you have a subject to and an owner finance on the same property. So that would make them the bank.
How many houses do you think you currently own right now?
Right now I have about 250.
And how many of them do you sell every year?
I try to sell. So I have a good 150 that I keep all the time, because either I bought them subject to or owner finance. So like they just cash flow, or they're homes that I bought like, a long time ago, 10 years ago plus. So most of the homes I bought, let's say from anything I bought, like say 7, 8 years ago or older, I pretty much just keep them because they're just kind of rentals. They're in my portfolio. I have someone that manages it and they're just easy and they make money. But anything I bought in the last 5 years, I'm turning over constantly, unless it's an owner finance or so. So I don't even try to sell my old shit. Although, I could, but it's just like, I have a certain amount of money coming in every single month on them, and it's just easy. Like I have more money coming in that I even need to live off of, and that's just off rental properties. And of course I have all these businesses, and I do all these different types of loans. So
Abraham, I want you to tell me if you think the deals I'm getting are good, or you think I'm a dog shit investor, okay? So me and my wife, this is kind of the houses we've been looking for. We try and get houses that are between $60,000 and $80,000, 4 or 5 bedrooms, and make them really nice. Make them like the nicest house in the block. Obviously, these are in the hood because of the prices you're buying at, but we want them to be so good that when you put them out in Zillow, people are like, holy shit, this is on this street. And when they walk in, they're like almost skeptical at first that it really exists. But then when they walk in, they're like, that's the type of houses we like to get. And we're usually trying to cash flow between $550 and $700 a property.
So you're buying these properties for how much?
Let's say 60, 70K.
And how much do you spend making them so nice?
So it's built into the loans I have to that the construction is funded. So we're closing at, let's say 20, 22 grand.
Damn. So you're in these homes for like 85 grand.
Yeah. I mean, some of them were only in like 60 grand, 70 grand.
After construction.
And rent is 1,600, 1,700.
That sounds like a freaking sweet deal. Like you can't do that here. There's no homes you could be into for 80 grand, 60 grand, 80 grand that you could rent for 1,600. That's crazy. I'm surprised you get 1,600 for those types of homes.
The thing is, in Milwaukee, single families are in really high demand. And if you make them nice, and especially if you rent it to a business, right, like a home health care or a daycare, or just a family that's like, we're so sick of living with, like what I've noticed in the hood is there's so many issues.
When you say hood, are these like the worst like areas in Milwaukee, or they're like
I'm talking like
a step or two up?
No. Like one of these properties I was terrified to buy, and like within a month of buying it, there's like a shooting in front of the house and like a wrap around a tree memorializing somebody.
Really?
Yeah, it was like, and then so the funny thing with this story is I put it on the market, and this lady calls me, and I see her zip code is like from Mequon. And that's a really nice part of Milwaukee. I'm like, ma'am, this isn't the fit for you. Like, you shouldn't even come walk this house. Like, this is not Mequon. She's like, no. Like, she wanted to come see it. She owned an Indian restaurant, and she wanted to put her chefs in this house. And I'm like, ma'am, I really think this is a bad idea. And she pushed me to show it to her. Okay, I'll show it to you. They walk it, they bring their kids, and it's like, I'm not kidding you. There are crack sales going on at 9 a.m. outside of this house, and they see this. They walk it. It's beautiful in here, and the contractors did a fantastic job. Like, if it wasn't in a shitty neighborhood, it would be like such an amazing house to have.
Right.
But it's beautiful. We want it. These Indian guys last 5 days before they start trying to negotiate out of the house.
Oh, really?
They're like, oh my gosh, like Gurpreet saw, like there's a shooting and there's yellow tape everywhere. Like, so that's the worst house we have in that neighborhood.
Yeah. I actually think that's a great strategy because first off, you're buying the cheapest home. So more than likely, eventually those neighborhoods are going to get better probably.
Hopefully, dude. They're awful, some of them.
Yeah. So I've seen that in Atlanta, man. Like literally 10 years ago, I was buying, and I don't like buying these areas, but I bought a very, very little of what I bought. But I was buying homes for like $5,000, $7,000, $3,000, $10,000 in like the worst parts of Atlanta. And they were really, really bad. But now those homes are worth a few $100,000. So like the upside is incredible. But the reason why I think it's a really good deal for you actually is not because of that. You're cash flowing like crazy on these.
Because that's right now what we're trying to cook up is I'm aware that YouTube, I mean, while it's going well right now, it could end tomorrow. It could end in a year. I don't know how long people are going to find me interesting or how long, maybe when I have my baby. By the way, I'm having a baby boy in January. I don't know if I told you. So I don't know if that's going to change
It's
things.
definitely yours.
Definitely. I mean, I'll do the DNA test, but I'm pretty sure.
All right.
You know, if it comes out looking a little different, who knows? I'll still love the kid, you know. But
I mean,
but what we're planning for is who knows when this journey will be over.
She's got sweet cheeks, so anyone.
Very sweet cheeks. She's got me intoxicated, man. And we want to be able to have income that supports our life, so we never have to go back and get a cubicle job.
Right.
So that's what we're gearing towards. Eventually, when we start getting a certain level of cash flow,
you're gonna have millions of subscribers in the next year. Like you're like when I go onto YouTube and I talk to my friends and so they're like, oh man, I love watching Tommy G stuff. This is awesome. I'm like, you're gonna be like so big. You're gonna have like residual income coming from YouTube alone. Like obviously diversifying the property is awesome.
I don't know. I feel like when you stop putting videos out, your channel can die very quickly.
It could, but you're not gonna stop putting videos out.
No, I'm gonna be foot on the gas.
Of course.
So, okay, so you would give what, a B, an A, a C to my deal so far?
I love the deal. The amount of the cash flows is crazy. Like you can't get deals that cash flow like that anymore right now because prices are so high. Like I could get deals like that 10 years ago, no problem, unlimited amounts. Now they don't exist in any of
the market's getting very skinny as far as good deals, I feel like.
Yeah.
So the other thing I've learned in my time, because I helped my friend grow a portfolio of real estate, and I was the property manager, and I actually just transitioned out of that, and it's been a huge relief because it was a small percentage of my income and like 50% of the stress of my life, like just managing contractors and leaky sinks, and it was stressful. But what I learned is I don't think I'm ever buying multifamilies again, especially in the hood, because like 4-unit building. One person's disgusting. Oh, they have bed bugs. All of a sudden, all 4 units have bed bugs. Yeah. Then you're coordinating Orkin. Hey, Jamisha, are you ready? Tyler, are you ready? Like, and then someone's not home when they say they're going to be home, and you have to get the guy back. Like, just there's so many headaches, and it's
horrible.
Upstairs neighbors, like, well, downstairs neighbors blasting music. Well, sorry, it was my birthday, and like you have to like.
I've had
so many.
I've had multifamilies just like that, so I can relate totally. I can relate. But you don't have keys to get in if they're not there.
Keys to get in if they're not there?
You said like you have to coordinate so the Orkin can get into everyone, and then if they're not there, you have to come back. Keys.
I guess you just give them the notice and go. So well, one, I don't want to be on site for all these different visits,
right?
Because it just would take too much. I used to, like a year ago, I was running around constantly to property, doing little things. Like the plumber comes, I'm sitting in the kitchen, like watching him fix the sink, and it just became.
Well, you're an idiot. Like you should definitely have someone that does all that shit for you. Especially, I mean, well, you say you do now, but. Yeah, I mean, I've never opened the door for the Orkin, but my property manager did,
But you do like getting down and dirty.
I do like getting down and dirty sometimes, but
we walked into a hoarder house last time I was in Atlanta, and you were wearing flip-flops like a total animal, dude. I'm still like, I don't know if you've taken a shower since we've done that, but that was disgusting.
Yeah,
dude.
I took one.
Okay, so you're good.
So what's crazy is that I don't mind getting down and dirty. Like I'll do crazy shit, but like. The difference is I do it because I enjoyed it and because I could and I want to do it. Like if I was a property manager, it would be because I have to do it. Like I want to like do it because I want to do it, and I don't have to do it if I don't want. Like I didn't have to walk in that in that house or in that room if I didn't want to.
So
I had people to do it, but I just did it because I enjoyed it.
A big part of your motivation, it feels like, is the ability to control your life.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking, feel free to shoot this down, but perhaps how we can close out is a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of a way to give back. I am willing to put $5,000 down into a foundation that's going to go 100% of it's going to go into Milwaukee wrestling. I don't know if you want to match me or anything like that, but open invitation. I think we can make a really big difference in Milwaukee.
I tell you what, I will definitely match you, but we got to do like a little bit of jujitsu before you leave town and see like, first off, you're in much better shape than me. Your cardio is much better. You're a much better wrestler. You're younger. You're quicker. Like, I mean, you should have a good advantage.
Abraham Gray is a very tricky jujitsu. I feel like you're almost like that, the guy that like lulls somebody into a sleep. Like, oh, like it feels like you're winning the round, and then all of a sudden, like you know when to explode your energy and catch people in funky stuff.
I'm very sneaky, but like athletically, yeah, I'm sure you got me. But like, you just gotta watch for my sneakiness. That's all. As long as I can't, catch you with some sneaky old school type, stuff.
Which you have plenty of.
Yeah, I have plenty of.
Abraham, we've just touched the surface of your life and what you do and how you feel about things. I guess there's people out there right now, 60% of America or more is living paycheck to paycheck. Like you can tell things are bad when you go to a website to buy a pair of shorts and it's like pay in 3 installments of $15. Like things are becoming scary financially. And when people hear numbers like you're doing, oh, this guy's worth $100 million, it sounds fake. It sounds impossible. It sounds like, well, that's his life, but it could never be me.
I was broke growing up. My parents had no money. I put like a couple like little things into my life, and that's what made me sort of, it's self-control, it's self-control. So like every single time I made money, whether I made, $20 for the week or $30, I always saved a certain amount of it, and when I was young, obviously I was able to save a lot because I didn't have as many bills. So I was able to save 50, 60, 70%. But no matter how much money you're making, there's always some money that you could save, and you just got to get in that habit. Once you get in that habit, you could become wealthy.
It seems like a big secret that a lot of wealthy people have, especially early on in their journey, is you have to be pretty frugal.
You have to be very frugal. So people, will make $100 and they're like, oh, cool, now I could buy extra shit. You don't need it. Like if you only made $50, you spend $50. So save the other 50 and just build that habit. And then eventually that will continue on to different parts of your life. Like it's the same thing with, people that are way overweight. Like anyone could eat good. Anyone could exercise. It's just, they don't feel like they need to.
Why are some people wired that way? Because I know when I was growing up, had a lawn mowing business. I was making pretty good cash for a kid. And my friends at some points thought I was a Jew because it was like, oh, do you want to go to the movies? Oh, well, no, we could watch one at home for free. Or, oh, do you want to go out to eat? No, we'll just make food at home. And on the flip end, like I remember one of my friends' moms or stepmoms who was wheeling and dealing in real estate. She's like, if I had to bet on one of these kids in the friend group being a millionaire, it's going to be Tom because of how he saves his money, how he thinks about things. Yeah. But then you can also lose, like
they're jealous of you. That's why they feel that way.
No, but there is an element of enjoying life. Like I remember when I would first take my wife out to dinner when we were dating, like when she would like order an appetizer or two, I would like clench up. I was like, this bill is going to be big.
Yeah.
And she had to kind of like coach me into like, Tom, these are things to enjoy. These are things to have fun with. And now I can go to a restaurant and it's like, oh, we get like, I'm a normal person. But like, do you think some people are just built that way?
Yeah, but you could change no matter what habits, no matter who you are, you can change. The people that are like the most like don't want to talk to anyone or introverted, they could be the most extroverted people in the world. People that are most extroverted could be the most. It's just like you got to train yourself. It's no one's born like that way. You could definitely 100% change. It's based on what's going on in your life is how you end up acting. But you build good habits, and then eventually. Yeah, you could start spending a little bit more money. You could start eating a little bit more bad stuff, depending on, the rest of your stuff in your life.
It's not every day we get to be a fly in the wall in a conversation with $100 million man. What's something you want to leave the people with before we push the end button here?
In in what way? Leave them with what?
You can give them advice, encouragement,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
So what I would say is I have so many young people come to me, and they want to know like how to get to your level or to get to where you're at. And I literally was worse off or the same as most people that come to me. And anyone could do it. Like you could watch millions of stories of all different types of people. It's building good habits. It's building good habits and having good self-control, thinking outside the box. Those are the most important things. And if you can do all those things, you're going to get so much further before you know it.
I think that what I'll leave off with is I think everyone has a little light in their soul and everyone has a little different niche. Like you are a puzzle piece and you don't fit into every single slot, but there is going to be a slot you do fit into really well. And it's going to take years of persistence to figure it out, to get good at it. But whether you become the best accountant in the world or the number one wholesaler or whatever it is, there is a niche for you. And you just have to dedicate the time to learning it, connecting with people that are better than you, and saving that money so you can invest into yourself.
And use your strengths. Like everybody has different strengths. Like if you could use all your strengths to better your life, you'll be so much better off than anybody else. People just don't use their strengths in the right way. I put it in an analogy. So in a story actually, because I have people like when I do events, I talk at a lot of different events, and people will be like, oh, I'm not good at anything, because I tell people use their strength. I'm not good at anything. I'm like, how old are you? They're like, oh, I'm 28 years old, but there's nothing I could teach anyone. There's nothing I could do. I'm worthless. I'm like, really? You're 28 years old and you think that? It's insane. I could prove you're wrong. They're like, yeah, bullshit, prove me. I'm like, all right. 10 years ago when you were 18, what do you know now that you didn't know when you were 18? That if you knew when you were 18, your life would have been totally different over the next 10 years. And then they start saying, oh shit, well, I would have done this. And they could name thousands of things, hundreds of things for sure, that they would have taught their 18-year-old self what they know now. And they've been like, yeah, if I knew that 10 years ago, my life, I would be rich, or I'd be in good shape, or I'd be whatever it is. I'm like, well, fuck, you just told me 100 things you could teach people. You know how many people are in your 18-year-old life that, would love to learn that shit from you? So there's tons of shit that you're good at. There's a lot of shit that you know that other people don't know. And, that's just a way to put in perspective for people. And then that really hits them. They're like, oh, wow, yeah, I do know a lot more shit than I thought.
You're capable. You're powerful. Get after it. We'll see you next episode. Peace.